All right, let's talk about one of the biggest headaches for anyone selling fashion online right now, returns. They're just climbing and climbing.
Absolutely. It's a huge cost center. Customers expect a perfect fit, and if they don't get it, well, back it comes.
Okay, so let's unpack this based on what people are saying. We hear a lot about retailers trying quick fixes, those affordable tools, maybe like Size Bay or just simple quizzes.
Yeah, the temptation is definitely there to go for something cheap and easy.
But the real question people are wrestling with is, do those quick fixes actually work? Or does spending less upfront end up costing you more down the line in the lost profit and, frankly, customer frustration?
That's exactly the heart of it, is that higher investment in, let's say, more sophisticated AI, actually the smarter move for reducing refunds.
We need to look past just the price tag, right? Compare what these different tools actually do.
Exactly. It's about understanding the difference between just having a tool and having something that genuinely drives performance. We need to look at the feature gaps in those more basic systems.
So our goal here today is to lay out what better sizing tech really means for fashion e-commerce.
And specifically, why the trend seems to be heading towards needing that advanced AI if you're serious about tackling returns.
Okay, so to really get this, let's start with a story we came across. It's about Maria, right? She owns a swimwear brand.
Yes, good example. So she installed one of those common quiz-based tools, thinking it would help with her return rates.
And at first, it seemed okay, like new customers were using it.
Yeah. Initially, she saw people engaging, new visitors putting in their height, weight, fit preferences,
Hmm.
getting a size recommendation, looked promising.
But then the problem hit.
Right. And it's a really common issue with these simpler tools. Think about who buys most often, your repeat customers.
Ah, okay. So what happened with them?
Well, when Maria's loyal customers came back to buy again, they had to fill out the same quiz every single time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's instant friction, isn't it?
Huge friction. If you make your best customers jump through hoops they already jumped through, you lose their trust, they stop using the tool. Simple as that.
So engagement just drops off a cliff for returning shoppers.
Pretty much. And it gets worse. The data she collected?
Let me guess, she couldn't actually use it.
Exactly. It was stuck inside the widget. She couldn't pull that info, height, weight, preferences into her CRM system, couldn't use it for personalized emails, nothing. It was just there, trapped.
So dark data, essentially. You collect it but can't leverage it.
Precisely. And the bottom line, her overall refund rate didn't really change. No noticeable improvement to the business's profitability.
So Maria's story kind of shows the basic problem. These tools might only touch a small slice of your orders. What do people say, like 20, 30%?
Yeah, that's the figure often cited. Around 20, maybe 30% of total orders actually get influenced by these basic tools.
Which means even if the recommendation is spot on for that small group,
It barely makes a dent in your overall return rate because most orders aren't affected. The potential impact is just fundamentally limited from the start. That's why the cheap fix often feels like it does nothing for the actual business metrics.
okay, so this isn't just about quizzes then. It applies to other sort of first-gen tools too, like maybe visual ones, 3D look, mirror, that kind of thing.
Generally, yes. People say these systems often share similar core limitations that stop them from significantly moving the needle on returns.
Let's break those down. You mentioned gaps. What are the key ones?
Okay, 5 main ones stand out. First is what we just touched on, limited data ownership. The retailer often can't easily get that customer data out to use elsewhere. It's locked in.
Right, so the tool isn't really building a long-term asset for the business.
Exactly. Second is the repetition and friction for returning customers. Making them re-enter details kills engagement and trust.
Makes sense. What's number 3?
This one's interesting, the one-size-fits-all assumption. Basic tools often treat every item with the same SKU number as identical in fit.
But they're often not, are they? Like, I've definitely bought the same style of t-shirt in 2 colors and one fits tighter.
Precisely. A red shirt versus a blue shirt, even with the same SKU, might fit differently because of the dye process, or maybe they came from different factories that month. Little variations.
If the tool doesn't know that,
It's going to give wrong recommendations sometimes, simply because it's missing that nuance. It assumes consistency that often isn't there in apparel production.
okay, that's a big blind spot. What's the 4th gap?
Low coverage, we already talked about this. Because they rely on manual input or only really work well for first-time visitors, they only influence a minority of orders, maybe 20, 30%, sometimes even less.
Leaving the majority of your sales untouched by the sizing recommendation.
Right. And the 5th gap is a lack of transparency. It's often hard to get clear data from the tool provider on critical metrics.
Like what specifically?
Like, okay, of the people who got a recommendation, what percentage actually followed it and bought that size? And crucially, what was the return rate just for those orders where the recommendation was followed?
Ah, I see. Without that specific data, claims about reducing returns are kind of fuzzy.
Very fuzzy. It's hard to verify the actual impact if you can't isolate the performance on influenced orders.
Okay, so those 5 gaps, data lock-in, friction, assuming all SKUs are identical, lower coverage, and lack of transparency seem pretty baked into these standard tools.
That's what the analysis suggests, yes.
So how does the system overcome all that? This brings us to the more premium end, like Prime, AI, PRO. What do they claim to do differently?
Well, the core difference is moving away from relying solely on that initial user quiz or input. It's about using AI and machine learning across the board.
How so?
The big one is creating a zero-input experience for returning customers. This is key.
Meaning they come back and...
And they automatically get a size recommendation without having to enter anything. No quiz, no measurements.
Okay, hold on. Zero input, automatic, with high accuracy. People claim up to 99% for repeat buyers. How's that even possible with all the variations we just talked about?
That's where the AI and the cost comes in. It's not just a simple calculation based on a size chart. It uses dynamic learning.
Dynamic learning, meaning?
Meaning the system constantly learns from outcomes. Did the customer keep the size it recommended last time? Or did they return it and exchange for a different size? It tracks this across products, styles, even those color variations.
Ah, so it learns from actual purchase and return behavior, not just static measurement.
Exactly. It sees patterns. It learns that, okay, for this specific blue t-shirt, people tend to size up compared to the gray one, even though the label says they're the same.
So that's how it tackles the product and color variant problem. It sees the real-world fit differences over time.
Precisely. And it can even proactively warn the shopper. You might see a little note like, heads up, this color tends to run a bit small in the waist.
That's pretty smart. And the zero input thing, that must massively increase how many orders the tool influences, right?
Dramatically. Instead of that 20-30% coverage, these advanced systems aim for 50%, 60%, even up to 80% of all orders being influenced, because now it works seamlessly for your huge base of repeat customers.
Okay, that addresses coverage. What about the data lock-in problem Maria had?
Solved, typically.
Yeah.
With systems like Prime AI, PRO, the deal is usually full data ownership and transparency. The retailer owns the sizing data.
So they can actually pull it out, use it in their CRM.
Yes, often via API integrations. That data becomes a real business asset you can use for better marketing, personalization, understanding lifetime value, etc.
And the transparency on performance.
That's usually a big selling point too. Dashboards provide clear metrics recommendation adoption rates, and crucially, the return rates specifically for those orders where the recommended size was purchased. You can verify the impact.
Okay, so the theory sounds good, but what about results? What kind of numbers are people reporting with these advanced AI systems?
The figures cited are pretty compelling. Clients often report around a 35% lower return rate, specifically among customers who bought the size the AI recommended.
35% reduction on those orders. That's significant.
Very. And it's not just about returns. They also report boosts in conversion rates, maybe 3 to 10%, because people feel more confident buying.
Makes sense. Less hesitation.
And often an increase in average order value, maybe around 15%, perhaps because people trust the recommendations enough to buy multiple items.
So reduced returns, higher conversion, bigger baskets. That starts to paint a picture of the ROI.
Exactly. When you put it all together, the profitability argument becomes clearer. The number thrown around is often something like, for every £1 spent on the advanced tool, retailers might see around £8 back in increased profitability.
£8 back for every £1 spent, mostly from cutting return costs and boosting sales.
That's the idea. Fewer returns means lower logistics costs, less wasted inventory, and the higher conversion in AOV add directly to the top line.
Okay, but let's be balanced. Are the simpler tools like SizeBay completely useless then? Is there ever a case for them?
Sure, there are scenarios. They're not useless. For, say, a very small startup just testing the waters, maybe with only a few simple products with very consistent sizing.
A basic tool might be good enough as an entry point.
Possibly. Or maybe for a brand with massive profit margins where even a tiny reduction in returns covers the minimal cost. It's about context.
But for most growing fashion retailers with diverse inventory and a real return problem,
The consensus seems to be that the limitations of the basic tools, those 5 gaps we discussed, mean they just can't deliver significant, measurable improvement. The upfront saving gets wiped out by the lack of real impact.
So the argument is that the premium AI, despite the higher cost, often pays for itself much faster because it actually works across a much larger portion of business.
Right. It addresses the core issues: friction for returning users, data ownership, product variations, and low coverage. It aims to be a performance driver, not just a checkbox feature.
So if you're a retailer evaluating options, it's less about how cheap is it and more about does it actually perform.
Exactly. And you need to ask the right questions to figure that out.
Okay, let's make this really actionable for listeners. What are the key questions they must ask any sizing tool provider?
First, what percentage of my total orders do you realistically expect to influence? Not just how many people use the quiz, what's the actual coverage across all sales?
Good one. If it's only hitting new customers, you know you're in that low bracket. What's next?
Second, will I own my customer sizing data? Can I access it easily, like via an API, to use in my other systems like my CRM? Is it my data asset?
Crucial for long-term value. Okay, third.
Third, is the experience for my returning customers truly zero friction? Do they ever have to enter measurements or answer quiz questions again after the first time?
If the answer is yes, that's a red flag for engagement with your best customers. Fourth question.
Fourth, does your system account for fit differences within the same SKU, specifically by color or production batch? How do you handle the red shirt versus blue shirt problem? Yeah, does it have that level of granularity? And the last one, finally, can you provide transparent reporting showing the specific return rate only for orders where your recommendation was followed? Can you prove the tool's direct impact?
So demanding proof of performance on influenced orders, not just vague overall numbers.
Precisely. You need to verify that claimed reduction.
Okay, this really clarifies things. Choosing a sizing tool isn't just about the upfront cost, it's a strategic choice.
It's about investing in a performance asset versus just adding a basic feature. The advanced AI systems tackle those core failings: low coverage, static logic, data silos, which is why they can justify the higher investment through actual results. Better conversion, significantly fewer returns.
So final thought for everyone listening. We see major brands, Speedo, New Balance, Puma, are mentioned relying heavily on this kind of advanced AI to get their return rates down.
Yes, they've clearly decided the investment is worth it.
So the question to ask yourself is, if you're using a basic, cheaper sizing tool right now, or maybe none at all, how much is that really costing you? Not just the tool's price, but the cost and lost profit from returns and the cost of customer friction. That hidden cost might be much higher than you think.